So what did you want with me?
Well, you wanted to record and talk about depression and stuff, didn't you?
Oh, that. I remembered that. I promise. I know what I'm doing. Like, would you believe that I know what I'm doing? Because I wouldn't.
I do not believe you.
Well, you should.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about my. Did you listen to mine after or?
Um, I intended to, but something else came up.
Well, basically, uh, I've had it. I wouldn't say I am it anymore. My glasses
Mm.
are really dirty. Sorry.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I am it anymore. And I think most people who have depression aren't always depressed. They just have bouts of. But I haven't had a proper bout of it for about 3 weeks. No, for about a couple of years. I had minor bouts, but I think that's just being what's it called?
Human.
Yeah. I think most people go through swings and roundabouts, don't they? But I've not been properly depressed since about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. Well, for me, it's an ongoing thing. So,
Mm.
um, for me, it's pretty much an ongoing thing. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's not as bad. But on top of being depressed, Dutch. I've also got anxiety. So for me, it's an ongoing thing in combination with anxiety.
Mm. Oh, anxiety's great. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't had it. It's fantastic. It's a constant, just little monster in the back of your head that's like, hey, everything can go wrong at any minute. Fuck you. That
Oh, tell me about it. I love having anxiety. I absolutely love it.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
great.
Um,
I found I don't know if this will help you at all, but I found this, and by I found I mean my therapist told me this technique for it that sort of so whatever thought it is that pervades your mind that causes anxiety. For me, for a while anyway, it was it changes over time. But for me, it's sickness, and at one point it was my friends getting hurt. I don't know why that specifically, and how it suddenly developed and then suddenly went away. But there we go. But for that second one, I would. She didn't give me this analogy, but this is what I changed the analogy into because I'm an old person.
yeah, you are.
You consider the anxious thoughts and the arduous thoughts coming in to a mailroom at the bottom of a lawyer's office, and they're spam mail, and the mail sorter that works there in this basement, who's really lonely and depressed, has to sort through all this mail, and
Yeah.
it's sort of you think about being that mail sorter, and you sort it into the spam pile, and you don't open it, you ignore it, you just put it to the side and be like, no, that's not a legitimate thought, go away. I don't know like how well that works for people who aren't me, but
For
for me
me,
that
that
works.
wouldn't work at all. Purely because of the reason, like for me, it's the same thing. Like at the moment, I don't know the word for it, but people who have an asthma attack when they can't breathe, probably, and they're wheezing and
A
stuff.
panic attack.
No, it's not a panic attack, but when you've got asthma, people start wheezing and breathing poorly
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. For me, I'm dealing with that right now, and combined with that, I've got chest pains. And I've been to the doctor for them, but he's given me some stomach tablets because he thinks that the issue is that it's stomach problem, like an acid reflux problem or whatever the fuck. But now in combination with this wheeze I've got when I'm working, because have I told you that I'm a postman now?
Yeah, you're a post lady, but yes.
Yeah, postman, whatever the fuck. I work for the mail, and it's I now have this sort of wheeze when I work, and having chest pains and wheezing, being out of breath from work basically. that could be an indication of heart problems.
Yeah.
So the tablets he gave me for my stomach did help, but because of the fact that I've now also got this wheeze, my brain just basically goes, okay, you've got heart problems, you're gonna be dead in like a year.
Instead of the more logical outcome, which is that you have asthma coming back to haunt you.
Well, I've never had asthma.
Yeah,
That's
but
the problem.
some people do
Develop it.
It's not so much develop it. It can be dormant in people. Like I logically have asthma because I had it when I was a kid, but I've not suffered from it since I was about 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's obviously there. Like, it's not like I don't have it. It's just not to any serious level. And what could be the case with you is it was always there, but you were never exposed to a situation where it was extremely like prevalent and would come out a lot. Like you never walked around for like 5 hours at a time in a job before, but I imagine there's not been any situation where you've had to consistently move and do things at a relatively high pace for that long for your lungs to be actually tested.
True, but I've been working for this company. It's like the biggest company here in the Netherlands. We've got several, but this is the biggest one. I've been working for them for about a year now. It'll be a year in May. Yeah. And you would think that this kind of problem would have developed sooner, but it's only developing now. And it's so my anxiety is basically saying like it's the same thing with everything. Like if there's some kind of problem, if I see like it could be a mole or a birthmark or whatever the fuck, because they developed, you know.
Yeah.
I've developed a few on my arms. My brain just basically goes, okay, have fun, you're going to be dead within a year.
Yeah, mine does that.
So, I mean, logically, I know, like, it's a birthmark. It's not going to do any harm. I mean, unless it's painful, unless it starts bleeding, that kind of thing, then it's a problem. But if that doesn't happen, it's just a birthmark. It's fine.
This is what frustrates me so much, and it probably does you as well, is that you there's two sides to your brain. There's the emotional and the logical, and the logical knows for as near fact as you can possibly get that you probably don't have any of the problems that the emotional side is telling you have. And yet for some reason it can't yell across the room of your head, hey, it's fine. Like, why can't they talk to each other? Like,
yeah, it is like that. It's very fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
Are you recording now, by the way, or?
Yeah, I started recording before we even think, because I suspected it would be this.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll cut out things that are like personal or whatever, so it doesn't matter.
No, it's fine. I'm not worried.
As in, like, if you say your mother's name or something, I can.
Yeah, that was. Well, I'm not going to mention her name, so.
No, I'm just like that was like the first example that came into my head. But yeah, my that's like an endless source of frustration, is that seeming lack of communication between the logical and the illogical, the emotional. And I don't think there's really a fantastic way that I've discovered anyway in my brief time on this waste of a planet of solving it. Even in my Christian circles, right, I hear about my friends laying their anxieties at the feet of God, and it's like, yeah, that's fine, but it's not that it doesn't work. I'm sure it does, but it doesn't. Like that's not. It doesn't work for me.
No, I will admit that I have thought about going back to church and talking to my vicar and that kind of thing, but in reality, I do not think that will help me at all. I mean, you know that I used to consider myself a Wiccan, and now I'm just kind of... I'm not exactly an atheist.
Agnostic is the word you're looking for, I think.
What does that mean?
You are unsure whether it's true or false, so you choose to be indifferent.
No, that's not exactly the case. I do believe that there's something more up there. But I'm not quite sure if it's just one all-powerful God. I do believe there's some more between heaven and earth, but...
That would be Gnostic then, as in Gnostic. Gnostic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in that place as well. I mean, it's not that God does nothing in terms of helping my anxiety. He does, but the underlying... So I have a story for this, right? So I have a fear of sickness, and I've had it since I was about 12, or maybe before then, which you might know about from a few years ago. I don't remember. If I've
I do remember.
Anyway, this has gone on. I've still got it. I'm 24, and I've still got it, I think. Or am I 24? Am I 23 or 24?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Let's go 24. So I've still got it now, but a few months ago, towards the end of last year, I went to my friend's house, and we were just... It was just a prayer thing. You know what Christians do, right? They're boring people who do boring things, right? We were doing one of those boring people things, and we were all praying. And at one point, my anxiety came up, and I was talking about... Your brain does this thing where it minimises a problem in order to protect you from yourself. So when you've experienced something traumatic, your brain will go, oh yeah, but it wasn't that bad, don't worry about it. And like minimises the fact that you were, raped or something.
Yeah.
And it'll do the same thing with anxiety. Like, oh yeah, but it doesn't really affect your life that much. It only affects it in certain situations. The problem is that those certain situations happen every day. But your brain won't actively tell you that. You have to sort of bring that up yourself. So, as I was talking through to them this problem of anxiety, and they were like offering to pray for it, I was like, well, it's not really a big deal. It only comes up in like situation X, Y, and Z, right? But the problem is that situation X involves food. Every time I make food that involves meat, it'll come up because what if you do it wrong and you throw up? So not every day, but every time I have a cooked meal, it comes up. Anytime I'm near someone who is ill, like even if they just have a cold, my brain is like, oh. So, this, I can't remember what the other one was now, but whatever. All three of these things come up pretty much every day. Yeah. Which is something my brain would deny me, but it's true. And we all prayed for it to go away, me included. And for about a week, no, longer than that, for about a month, I didn't feel ill at all. Sorry, I didn't feel scared at all of illness. Yeah. I ate meals with no problems, with no background thought. I mean, I had the background thought, but for some reason this part of me that usually went, oh, it doesn't matter if you're sick, actually overpowered the part of me that was panicking about it for the first time since I was 12, and it was great. And then I got ill, and not vomiting ill, but ill in a way that I felt as though I could have, and instantly the panic level went beyond the overpowering level of the other one, of the God thing. Yeah. And I've been the same since. I'm in fear again, and I don't understand why that happened or how that happened. Who knows? But it's the faith healing phenomenon, right? And it's not that I don't believe in faith healing, but in most cases it's the whole when you're there with people and they're like, yeah, woo, it's the adrenaline,
Yeah, it's the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, and it's not that faith healing can't happen, because I know it can, but it's the fact that in most cases that's where it is, and maybe that's where it was for me. Who knows? But
it might as well could have been, but I mean, I'm of the opinion one of my mum's acquaintances, he's a faith healer, and he's not a fraud, because I know that it works, because he's helped me. He's not a fraud, he's an actual legit faith healer. But he also is his thing is seeing ghosts, helping people, that kind of thing. Like a legit faith healer who happens to see ghosts and whatever. Yeah. Which is also legit, because he proved it to my mum. I think I told you the story before, where he He once came to visit her in her home at a time, and he described this person standing in the corner of the room. And when she pulled out a picture, like this was literally the first time he's ever been to her home.
Mm.
Like he described this person having a long coat, like a farmer's cap. And she pulled out a picture because that description was familiar to her, and it turned out to be her grandfather. Like, and he'd never even seen a picture of him before. First time to her home, so he's a legit person, I believe.
I do recognise that story, yeah.
Yeah, so he's utterly legit. But yeah, I do believe that it might have been a partial faith healing that you've gone through, because I think like you can. It's I don't want to call it trick your own brain, but it is kind of tricking your own brain into believing that it's fine, you know.
Oh, I'm fine with tricking my brain. Trust me, I'm all for it.
It's like
tricks me enough.
I'm all for it as well. But like, I do believe that somehow you can trick your own brain. In this case, with your prayer circle or however you described it, that you could it's kind of faith healing, kind of tricking your own brain. I think that kind of happened maybe.
It's a shame it didn't last. But my point to that story is that it's not that God can't help me, it's more he did, and either I did something or he's done something or something somewhere. The wires have crossed over and it's gone back to the way it was. So I'm not like my brain
that's understandable, because this is kind of comparable, because you know that I've got a phobia of spiders. I'm sure you remember from our Minecraft days.
I've got a phobia of spiders.
Fuck out when it comes to spiders, and
yeah.
I think I was once in a call with you, or we were on TeamSpeak, and I fell into a cave spider nest, and I just freaked the fuck out.
I thought that was the other way around, but I'm willing to believe both sides of the story. So,
well, it happens both sides, but like my point is. When I was at school, you know that I did the course to be an animal carer and that kind of thing. Like one of my teachers spent time in teaching me how not to be afraid of spiders. Like he made me research the different body parts of the spider. He made me research their movements. It involved a ton of research, and then he just put me in the room where all the snakes and all the creatures were that we had that needed special care. And we also had a Chilean tarantula, and he was like, okay, he grabbed it out of its cage, he set it on the table in a closed box, and he just went, okay, you studied the thing, have a close look at it. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Have a close look at it, study it, and if you dare, pick up the box that it's in. Of course, my teacher being a little shit, he did go, yeah, be aware, he can bite through the plastic. So I ended up sitting, just holding a corner of the box. But that's kind of, I mean, I was still scared of spiders, but it wasn't as bad where I open a book, see a spider, and then immediately drop the book. I was that bad.
I wouldn't have been in the same building. Sorry, I wouldn't be in the same building as a tarantula of any kind.
Yeah, but like that's kind of how bad it was for me. Like, if I didn't know there was a picture of a spider in a book and I'd see it, I'd just immediately drop the book.
Yeah, I'm
like no hesitation.
Yeah.
But because of him helping me with all that, I kind of didn't completely lose my fear of spiders, but it did help.
It lessened.
It lessened. I mean, when I saw a spider, like a very long leg, in my room, I wasn't like, oh my fucking god, mum, get that thing away from me. I would be like, okay, there's a spider there. Have fun, chill, whatever the hell spiders do. But then, at some point, I was home alone, and I was reaching for something beside me, and I see this massive, big brown spider rushing past my hand. And since then, my fear of spiders is back. You know, so I think it's kind of comparable to your story. Like somehow the wires got uncrossed again,
I mean, the repeating pattern in both those stories is that we were exposed to a real threat of it as opposed to a false threat.
Yeah.
And then that's re-engaged rather, the trigger, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it kind of triggered our fear again. So yeah, I mean, but I do think that maybe either it really helped, it was really a form of faith healing that you've gone through, or maybe you tricked your own brain into believing that it's fine, you know? Because I do know that this expression doesn't translate well, but no way it does. Like it's all in the mind sometimes, you know?
Yeah. It's always in your mind.
Yeah, but like some things, like suppose you see someone being nauseous, seeing someone throw up, like your body sometimes automatically responds the same way. It immediately tricks itself into thinking like, oh, this person is throwing up, I got to throw up too now. So, you know, that's another case of it being in the mind. Like it's you don't really feel sick, but your brain tricks you into throwing up, basically.
Like in the Jackass movies.
The what?
In the Jackass movies.
I don't know which movies those are.
Oh, they're terrible. But basically, it's just a bunch of like. I was a teenager, right? Forgive me. It's basically just a bunch of men like pranking each other and stuff. But whenever one would throw up for whatever reason, everyone else would end up following because of that.
Like the Family Guy instance.
Yeah, like
right?
In that.
Because I remember this thing with I think Chris, Peter, and Stewie just all ended up throwing up, and everyone just went.
Yeah, I think that's because of something they took, though, as opposed to that phenomenon. But, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it kind of works the same way. Like, one person started, and it just became a chain reaction of everyone just blowing chunks.
I've heard that phrase used since I was, like, 10.
Well, you know, I'm Dutch. Shut up.
that's a good excuse.
Yeah, that's my excuse.
Can I do the same thing, but I'm British?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, fine.
That's okay with me. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, anxiety. Like, for me, my main triggers are sickness. Like if I see a spot on my body, or if I feel a bit of pain, or that's the trigger for me. For me, it's I hate being in huge crowds. Like everyone's already sitting down, and you enter a room, and you know that thing when you enter a room, everybody just
turns
immediately looks towards you like, who is it? That's a trigger for me. I hate that so much.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't have a reason at all, because, like, I haven't had one for, no wait, I had one 2 weeks ago, a panic attack.
Okay, yeah, carry
on. Yeah, I had a panic attack 2 weeks ago, and it was for the stupidest reason ever. Like, I told you about me wheezing and sore chest and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was working, and during work, I started getting wheezy, and I didn't feel great, and I had a sudden, very bad pain in my stomach, and that triggered a panic attack, just because it was just a sudden, sharp pain, and as it turned out, I just needed to go to the bathroom really badly. But you know, it just triggered a really bad panic attack. And I'm lucky that my route for work goes past my house. So I immediately cycled home, because I was very close, like 2, 3, 4, 5 feet or something. So I walked home. I went into the house and I took a break to calm down from the panic attack. But that kind of thing can be a trigger as well. Like just the stupid fact that I get a very bad stomachache because I need to go to the bathroom. Like, it's so fucking dumb, but it still happens. And it really, really sucks because before that I haven't had a panic attack for like a year and a half.
Yeah, it's the same for me though. I'll go about a year, 2 years without one, and then I'll suddenly have one.
Yeah.
And then I'll go another 2 years without. I don't know why that happens.
Well, for me in this case, it was a build-up of several factors. Like I already had a chest pains, and that was the first time I had the wheeze going on, and sudden pain in my stomach. So it was a combined combination of factors that made me have a panic attack. And it sucks ass because, like, I made myself a deal. Like, if I don't have a panic attack for like a year, then I don't have one yet, but I'm gonna get a tattoo because I've always wanted one, but I've never really had a proper design in mind and that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, if I go a year without a panic attack, then I'll get a tattoo, which I did do, but I don't have a design yet and stuff. So I will get one at some point, but I don't have a design. But it just, I felt really disappointed in myself in a way, because I've dealt with this kind of thing before in the past year and a half. Like I dealt with it and I didn't have a panic attack, and now suddenly this build-up of factors just made me have one, and I was kind of disappointed in myself for it.
You can't really help it though. Like it's
not true. I know logically I can't help that happening, but I still kind of felt that disappointment. Like, yeah, I've gone with that one for a year and a half, and still it happens. Like I know I can go without one, but I still have one. So I know it's not actually my fault, but it's still that sense of disappointment. Like, okay, yeah.
I never get like that for some reason. I mean, I don't get disappointed in myself when it happens for whatever reason. I think my brain just doesn't do that. I just get frustrated at my brain for doing it again.
Yeah. I mean, that was a part of it as well. I mean, because I felt like if I can go a year without a panic attack, then I'll be sort of back normal, you know? Like, I know I can live without this constant battle of anxiety and that kind of thing. And then to have it happen again, like, it's not my fault, I know that, but I did feel a sense of disappointment. Like, yeah, I thought I was doing better.
This isn't... this sounds really discouraging, but it's not, trust me. This isn't necessarily a fight that you'll win, though.
No,
like
true,
this,
no.
The anxiety is something that it's like everyone has it anyway, so it's not something you can just eliminate from your life, because it's something that everyone will have and is doomed to have no matter what. So don't think you'll ever win. What you can do is limit how often it comes up. The fact that you go between a year and 2 years without it coming up is a massive victory, considering, I mean, if you were anything like me, at some point you couldn't go more than 2 weeks without one.
I've been that bad as well.
Yeah, like it's when I first started getting them after the time that triggered it all, the sickness thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't go more than a month, I don't think, without having a panic attack about how I felt, about feeling sick. Because that would make me panic, and then it would go a vicious circle and all that box. And now I'm at the point where I can go between a year and 2 years without any problems whatsoever, which I'll take.
Yeah, same here. Like when I first started dealing with the anxiety, like when it was first diagnosed, I was 21 at the time, I think. I'm 28 now, so it's been 7 years.
You're 28?
Yeah.
God, how old are you?
I'm 28, you pleb.
No, I mean, like, just... Oh, no wonder you crochet.
I know, I'm old. Fuck you.
Anyway, carry on.
I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, when I was first diagnosed, I was 21, and I'm 28 now. when I was first diagnosed, it was so bad. Um, like when it first happened, I think I told you all this before, but whatever. When it first happened, I was home alone.
I've probably forgotten since, to be fair. It has been a few years.
It has been, yeah. I was completely home alone, and the stupid thing is that it did trigger. It was triggered by the fear of being sick. Like, I don't know if you remember that hype about everyone talking about blue waffle and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't Google it. It's very, very bad.
I remember the hype, but I never looked into it because I know it would make it worse if I knew anything about it.
Yeah. Stupid me. I ended up Googling what it was. And the pictures are something I'll never forget. So I'm a very big idiot, basically. But that's kind of like the reason that I started was a build up of factors. The fact that I've been bullied in the past, the fact that pretty much I'm from a broken home, basically, and then the fear of getting sick and dying and that kind of thing. That was basically a combination of why it started for me. So yeah, but when I first had my first panic attack, I was completely home alone. I was on the phone with my mum, thank God. I don't know what we were talking about, but for some reason I start feeling like I can't breathe, I feel sick, I need to throw up, and that kind of thing. You know, the typical things that you feel when you start to have a panic attack.
Yeah.
Like tingling fingers, out of breath, hyperventilating, feeling dizzy.
Do your teeth tingle, or is that just me?
For me, it's my fingers. Like my hands really
my
start
teeth tingle,
down.
and my teeth do as well. My fingers, sorry, and then my teeth do as well, like the gums that hold them. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, that's fine. No, for me it's my fingers when it happens. But you know, I have the classic signs. My mum, she could hear what the hell is going on, so she started asking me questions. Do you feel like this? Do you feel like this? Do you feel like this? Do you feel this happening? Like to kind of determine what the heck was really going on. And then she went, okay, if you can walk, you need to go to the kitchen. You need to grab yourself a plastic bag and breathe into the bag. So she recognized just from the sounds of my breathing that I was having a massive blowout panic attack. So she ended up talking me through it. And immediately after I started breathing normally again, she was like, okay, I'm going to come home right now. And she did, of course, which took her about an hour because she works an hour away from us where we live. And we talked about it. We talked about how I was feeling, what the heck was going on. And she was like, okay, you've got a choice now. Like, do you want to go to the doctor tomorrow to see what he can do for you, or do you want to deal with this on your own? And I was in such a state. I was just like, no, we're going to go to the doctor's. I need to go to the doctor's office. So we ended up going to the doctor's, but because of that, long story short, he gave me medication and stuff. But because of that, I didn't dare to be home alone for like the next 2 weeks. So I ended up, because my school was in the same town as my mum's work, I would end up going to her place of work to hang out because I was so afraid of being home alone and having another panic attack that I just went to hang out at her place of work, which, you know, is kind of dumb if you think about it, but I didn't feel like I had another choice because I was so scared of being alone again and having a panic attack. So that's how bad it was for me the first 2 to 3 weeks.
I don't remember what mine were like.
Well, I mainly remember because
I mean, I was 12, so I'm like a lot younger.
Yeah, I was 21. But I mainly remember how bad it was because we ended up calling one of my aunts, and I would spend the day at her place if I had a day off. Because every Friday, for me back then, I had a day off, like no lessons whatsoever. And
is this the aunt that's like Hyacinth, or is this a different one?
No, it's not Hyacinth. It's the other one.
Okay.
This is the nice one. But like, yeah, I would end up spending the day at her place because, you know, I couldn't be on my own. And like for a few days, I would go to my brother's. Like on a school day, I would either go to my mum's place or my brother's place, but my brother being autistic as well. There is a point for him where he says, like, okay, no, this needs to stop. And he did understand what I was going through, but he felt like he didn't have his own space because I would come over because I was so scared of being alone. Like, it's not that he didn't understand it, it's just like his autistic thing, he needs his space and he needs to be able to do his thing and stuff. And I get that. I'm not mad at him for that, but...
I'm the same, so...
Yeah, so I ended up having to go to my aunt's place to spend the day, and she would like take me on trips and grocery shopping and that kind of thing, and I would help her do laundry, that kind of thing to keep me busy.
Yeah.
So, but that's how bad it was for me. Like I didn't dare to be home alone at all, and eventually after 2 weeks, my mom just basically went, "Okay, this can't go on. You need to learn how to be home alone again." So we picked out a day where I had a lot of lessons, so I would only be at home alone for like 2 hours. And that went fine. So since then I just kind of spend time alone again as usual.
When you first start having anxiety and panic attacks as well, the ways in which you deal with it are kind of like...
Yeah,
they're very amateur ways of dealing with it because you like, and it's fine to. I think it's fine looking back that you did things that were a bit like silly, like all that stuff you just said about going to your aunts and all that.
Yeah.
Because when you don't know how to deal with it, like I don't remember much of my time because I was between 10 and 12. I can't remember if I started secondary school yet or not. I don't think I had. So it must have been 10 or 11. Anyway, I don't remember too much of it, but I remember being very sort of inconsolable while also wanting to be consoled.
Yeah.
And so I'd like go to hug my mother and then push her off me and be like, no, it's too enclosed a space. And then I'd go and like stroke the dog and hug the dog or whatever, and it would help a tiny bit, but I'd end up pushing her away as well. I pace up and down the house, not the flat, the house. I was living with my parents. And just like all random things that you hear on TV. It's like, when you see someone do something on TV when you're a kid, you're like, oh well, that's the way to deal with that situation then.
Yeah.
And so went out to get air. Whatever, all those things, and none of them worked ever. It was only when I was about 16, I think, so 4 years later, where we kind of had a pretty good system going of rationalizing what's going on. 15, where we had a good system of rationalizing what's going on and what the process is, so the warning signs to look out for when you're starting on one. Yeah. And what to do, like keep shut up phone. Keep breathing. Chew gum. I chew gum because it takes 20% of your brain power into your mouth. So that's a pro tip as well if you're studying. Okay. Chew gum. Not this relevant to you because you don't do university, but and just think like, okay, what are the potential causes for me to feel this butterfly feeling? Because for me, the reason I get panicky is when I feel sick. Yeah. And the feeling of sickness is very similar to a feeling of anxiety, and it's very similar to the feeling of excitement, and it's very similar to the feeling of nervous tension, and also hunger. So in my head, I have to go through, right, am I hungry? When was the last time I ate? And if I ate 5 hours ago, then, then it's hunger, and I go and shove food down me, and I'd be fine. If I can rule out hunger, then is it like, am I nervous about something? Am I anxious about something? You know, and going through those logical steps in your mind, which are more logical than just, oh, you don't feel ill, because although it's true that you don't feel ill, even though you do, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Your brain won't listen to you unless you give it clear, concise reasoning as to why, and even then, it'll put up a bit of a fight.
Yeah.
But you eventually get good at fighting it.
Yeah, because you have no other choice. Because, like, when it happened to me, my mum, like I said, literally gave me a choice. Like, okay, do you want to try and deal with those on your own, or do you want to go see the doctors? For me, it was just a no-brainer straight away. I had to go to the doctors because I was so scared. I was so anxious. Like, there's sort of no way to live. Like, I literally, from that moment on, I was like, if I have to live like this, like, for even a year, I'll off myself. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, like, the thing is with mental illnesses and depression and anxiety and every other illness, it's the stigma that's behind it. Like, people, what I have experienced in my family, a couple of times, like, they didn't really understand, you know? So
I don't blame people for not understanding, though. It's when they won't understand.
Me neither. I don't blame it either. But, like, my family didn't understand, my teachers didn't understand, because they wanted me to take a year off school to work on myself and then come back. But, you know, if you stop for a year, then you'll never go back. That's just the way it is. Because school is utterly fucked. But, so the way that I would explain it is, like, when you tell them, like, you've got depression, you've got anxiety, like, oh, you need to go and do something fun. That's usually the direction you get. So I came up with this rather, like, intense and crude, but I would say to them, like, suppose if you're talking to someone who has, I don't know, leukemia or cancer, will you tell them, they tell you, like, yeah, I've got cancer, blah, blah, blah. Will you tell them, like, oh yeah, you need to go and do something fun? Like, would you say that to someone who has cancer? You know, like, there's a good chance that they're going to die. Like, yeah, you need to go and do something fun. Like, go out and have fun. Like, you wouldn't say that to a cancer patient. And it's the same for people with mental illness. You can't say that to someone with mental illness because it doesn't work like that. I mean, sure, we can go out and have fun. We can go to the amusement park. We can go to the zoo or whatever. But it doesn't work like that for us. Like, on some days, I still have those days sometimes. It takes, like, a massive bundle of energy just to drag yourself out of bed, just to take a shower, just to do laundry. Like, things like that just takes a massive amount of energy to do.
See,
depression and stuff.
I think it's more comparable, because cancer seems like a bad comparison, because I feel like when you have something as horrifying as cancer, the one thing you want to do is take your mind off it.
True.
I think it's more comparable to have it, to compare it to ME, chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
Because with that, like, people, they can't move, but it takes such enormous effort for them to move that there's a reason why they don't, you know? If they can at all. It's like, some days they can move, but it takes an enormous amount of effort, and it drains them of their energy very quickly. Other days they're fine, and they go about their business relatively okay. And other days they cannot move at all without just dying under the weight of doing it. It's a much better comparison, that's a much better comparison, because mental illness, depression especially in my case, and maybe autism as well, is much like how much energy can you expend in your own, like, in your soul, in your head, to cope with people and with things. Like, you don't say to an ME patient, oh yeah, just get up and dance.
Yeah, true.
As, like, a fun activity to do, and you wouldn't say it to us either. I think it's a better comparison to make that.
Yeah, but at the time I was,
No, I know, but
I
but
was
I know somewhere, some way, someone's gonna say, "Oh, but a better because I'm superseding them before they even get a chance."
yeah, but at the time I was not just like there was a number of issues going on. I had depression, I had anxiety, but I was also very angry, really. Like, because I've dealt with a lot of shit. Like, I'm from a broken home. I've always been bullied. My brother's got autism. I don't feel like I've got a bond with him, that kind of thing. So, for me, it was like, oh yeah, this is another thing that's just happening to me. Like, why the fuck is this happening to me? Like, I was very angry because it didn't feel fair at all, because I've already dealt with so much shit in my life. It just felt like another shovelful in the shit pile, you know? So I was also very angry that this was happening as well. And, yeah, I will admit I've done a lot of stupid thing when it was really bad, like, cause I've been self-harming because of it. And I will admit that's the most stupid thing I could have ever done. But at the time, it was like, I didn't know how else to deal with the pain.
Yeah, when you don't have a way to deal with something, you'll jump to any conclusion.
Mhm.
So that hang on, I had a thought.
Yeah.
I promise it was a good one.
Oh yeah. Well, having thoughts is very difficult for you, isn't it?
Fuck off.
I love you too.
Oh yeah. So the whole like a lot to deal with. Fucking hell, brain, please. This is how badly it works when I'm fine. Oh, come on. I had a good thought there. I got it. So when you you say you deal with a lot deal with a lot of crap, and in your case it's the broken home and the
bullying,
shitty relationships and bullying and whatever, the fact that you're gay, all that stuff. It's all like
I'm not officially gay. You're gay.
It's all a like a menagerie of just bollocks, but none of the things are. I don't think this is something you realise until way too late as well.
Yeah.
They aren't anything you can control, so it's pointless to hold on to the anger of it.
True.
And I know you may realise that now, but I'm just saying it for the sake of a thought. It's because I didn't realise this until relatively recently, because I'm much younger than you, and about 50 years younger than you. So
yeah, true.
I came to this conclusion that I can't hold on to this anger that, for example, my parents didn't pick up that I was autistic sooner than I think they should have, or thought they should have. Because had they done so, I may have had a better. Not that I had a bad upbringing as such. I have great parents and I love them both dearly.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like
it
would
great
have been
upbringing,
easier.
but there's certain things in my childhood that would have been better had they known, because they used to make me go out sometimes, and when you're autistic, you wake up one day and you're like, oh yeah, everything's fine, let's go out and like talk to a homeless man or something. And then other days you'll wake up and you can't bring yourself to face anyone outside. You can't bring yourself to face your friends or your parents or anyone.
You just want to be left alone in your own world.
Yeah, and it's, as a kid, because they nor I understood that, we sort of forced me into going out, and like it's not their fault, they didn't understand. But until like I was 18 or so, I had that sort of angry thing in the back of my mind that was like friction against my parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't be angry about something like that. this many years after it's happened, number one.
True.
And number two, when they didn't even realise it was a thing. I still don't know how they didn't realise I was different, considering my father had 3 children before me, but there we go. But there's that, and then the bullying thing, right? And you can't, the way it relates to you is that you can't blame your parents for not getting on, or whatever the situation there is.
I don't. I mean,
I'm not saying you do, but it's using you as the example.
Yeah.
And then in bullying, and this is the one that was hardest to let go of, I think, because these were fully functioning human beings, although granted it was 13, 14, 15. They're fully functioning sentient human beings that, instead of choosing to make people's life better and easier, they chose to make your life specifically more difficult. And that's very hard to forgive and very hard to get over. And this, I think if I had never become a Christian, I never would have forgiven them. But luckily for me, I am. Mm-hmm. So and one day, again, prayer, because I'm a boring person. Phone. We were praying about the things that happened to me in school, and again, it's the brain minimizing things. You don't seem to think that your life is so bad until you actually dive into your brain and go, oh hey, how bad was it? And then it goes, it was awful.
Yeah, true.
And it sounds like it, because your brain does this thing of like, oh yeah, you're just bitching, you're just 2 people bitching about how rough of a teenage year you had. And it's like, yeah, but I did.
True.
Like, I'll grant you it's probably not as rough as some third world bodunk nowhere person had, where everyone hates him and he has no water to drink as well. But that doesn't make it any less hard on me as a person. Anyway, right, so bitching aside, I came to this conclusion that you can't hold on to that anger at them, because it's just not worth their time or your time or the emotional baggage that comes with it.
Yeah.
If you're still holding on to anger from people, from things that people did to you when they were teenagers, then they have far more power over you than you'll ever have over them. Mm-hmm. Like it's just not helping you at all. Get rid of it. Now, for me, I can very easily put their sins, if you want to call it that, to the cross and be like, right, either they'll repent and go to heaven and live in brotherly love with me, or they'll not be sorry at all for anything they've done and they'll be in hell. Either way works for me.
Yeah.
I hope that one day they all see how wrong they were, because because there's a slight part of me that's like, yeah, you feel that guilt, you fuck. And then there's the other part of me that's like, yeah, you feel that guilt, you fuck. And then there's a third part of me that's that wants them to be in heaven, because Christian and all that. Yeah. So that's point 2. Point 3 of my 3-point plan of my life sucks is in dealing with the whole depression, anxiety thing. There's no real I've never found a real formula for dealing with it. It just sort of comes and goes, and in those come-go moments, it's about how well you cope as opposed to how well you deal. You can't really make a deal with it and be like, hey, can you just disappear for a few days while I do this? That's not a thing. You have to conjure up this ability, I get mine from God, to be with it, to just be one with it and accept that you have it, and that it's not going to last. And it might last a couple of days, it might last a couple of weeks, it might last a few months, whatever. It's there. It doesn't for me anyway, I know it does for some people, but for me it doesn't make me suicidal or anything. It just makes me apathetic, as in I don't care about anything. Yeah. Emotionless.
To put it in the geekery term, you're basically Vulcan.
Yeah. So it's not. I don't get that because I don't like Star Wars, but don't worry about it.
It's Star Trek, you slept.
Oh, same fucking thing.
No, it's not.
So it is. So my brain doesn't really get massively upset or massively anything. So I'm quite lucky in that I sort of go into a passive mode. I say that, but then when I'm in the pits of it, I'm like, I wish I could feel something, but whatever. Ignore that. That's fine. That's ruining my narrative. So move on quickly.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I don't know what it was.
It was like you unzipped very quickly.
Well, I'm not wearing anything with a zipper right now, so it might have been me.
You should. I'm gonna cut the video so it just sounds like you said I'm not wearing anything and you can't stop me.
Fuck you. Don't do that. I will kill you.
And my worth it. And it's the third point is you cope with it and you find a way to find your way of coping with it. Mine is to just like carry on and know that it'll go at some point, because it does. Mm-hmm. And there will be days where it'll overwhelm you and you'll not be able to move, but don't let those days last too long, otherwise you sink lower and lower into the pit.
God damn it, my game just cut out on me. Yeah, I'm playing a game in the meantime because it makes it easier to focus. But yeah, I do get your point. But the thing is, like, when, like, I'm not angry anymore. Like, I do sometimes feel like, Jesus, my life is an entire shit show. But it's not in a way.
Everyone's is though.
Like, I'm incredibly angry about it anymore. But when I first got my depression, I did get angry about it because. Like, up until that point, my life had already been a shit show, and then this happens as well. So it felt really, really bad.
The thing about anger is that, like, you have every right to be angry at something, and sometimes you should be angry at something, but there's like a useful anger, and then there's a detrimental, yeah. And it's useful to be angry at your depression itself, because that gives you that sort of that fire to seek out a way to fight it and to carry on. But then there's the anger that maybe you can describe this better than me, but there's that sort of self-pitying anger, or you're angry at other people for causing it, or something to that degree.
Yeah,
because that's not helpful to you. What's helpful is to get angry at the feeling and to fight. I feel like this is bad advice, but this is what I do. To fight the feeling and to be like, no, I'm not letting you do this. Fuck off.
Yeah, true. Like, I will say, like, I do still get angry sometimes. But that's because, I've got a history of bullying. And my route takes me past the high school or elementary or secondary or whatever the fuck. It takes me past a school where there's a lot of fucking teenagers. And teenagers being teenagers, they see a fat person walking past and they're going to be laughing and like, oh, you're pretty and you want to blah blah blah, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And
normal stuff.
Sometimes I get angry at them, but usually I just ignore them. But that anger of, like, how the fuck dare they do something like this? It's still there. Because what's the fucking point of laughing at someone who's not, like, quotation marks, normal? Or quote unquote, or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, what's the point in that? People are going to be different. It's just the way it is. But I've got one way of dealing with it, because the thing I usually get when I'm working is, like, I get the standard, oh, my friend likes you, that kind of comments. But what I do now is, like, it still hurts, it still pisses me off, but I get back at them. I usually, like...
By raping them in the street?
No, God, no. I just kind of pause and stare at them, and then I go, yeah, your friend might be into me, but I think you're the prettier one. I could go for you, Like, make them look the fool.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't translate well, but I usually say something like, yeah, but you're more my type. Just to make them look the fool and make their friends
I imagine
laugh.
that's really cool when you're Dutch.
Yeah, well, it's not that cool, but the thing is, Usually this kind of thing happens when this little shithead is surrounded by his friends. So to have someone throw his work back at him, that makes him look the fool.
Yeah.
And that gives me a massive amount of satisfaction. It's petty, it's terrible. Well, it's not really terrible, but it's incredibly petty of me to do. But it gives me a fucking amount of satisfaction to be able to see this little shithead be humiliated, basically. So yeah, that's that. I don't know where I was going with that, but